Hey everybody, John Ward here with teamtutorials.com, and I got another tutorial here today for pushing from your local WordPress development environment into your production site. So we had another tutorial where we talked about backing up your live production site and bringing it into local by Flywheel. So if you haven't done that yet, you want to go ahead and check that tutorial out at teamtutorials.com. In this tutorial, we're going to make a change and we're going to upload that to our production website. Now, as you can see here, I'm on my local domain in our local by Flywheel application, and I'm using the WordPress 2020, the new theme that just came out the other day. If you look at this tab, this is my live website. It's using the same theme. So all we're going to do today is we're going to make a small change. We're going to change the theme back to 2019, and we're going to push that change up into production. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my local website. I'm going to log in to WP admin, and I'm going to make a change to the appearance. I'm going to activate 2019. I'm going to take a look, and you're going to see that the template has changed. Now, if we look at our live website, refresh it, it's still 2020. Okay. Now, in order to deploy this to production, there's two steps. You have to deploy all the files on the file system up to your public HTML folder, and you also need to deploy the database changes using a SQL client. The first step is to locate your files on the file system. So you're going to go to your local website, you're going to go to overview, and you're going to see that you have a site path here. That's where your local files are going to be. So I'm going to open that. It's in my local sites directory. And as you can see here, I have the definitive web, and then you're going to want to go into app and then public. Now this is going to be the same as your public HTML directory on your production web server. So the next step is to open your FTP client. I'm using CyberDuck. So I'm going to open that. I'm going to make a connection to my website, and I'm going to use SFTP because it's more secure. Let me get my password from my password manager, and I'm going to connect. Okay. In your FTP client, what you're going to do is you're going to browse to your public HTML folder and you're going to open it. Now here's all your live website data. Here's all your development data. You're going to want to highlight everything within public on your app directory, except for your WP content.php. You don't want to, or WP config.php, that is. Now you don't want to update your WP config.php because that's going to change your database information to point to the local database, which doesn't exist in your production environment. So you don't want to change WP config.php. Deselect that. And what you're going to do is drag all of these over and drop them into your public HTML folder. Now it's going to ask you if you want to overwrite your files. I'm going to say yes. And this is going to take, I don't know, a few minutes. To be honest, for this tutorial that I did for you guys, all I changed was a theme, and the theme is already installed, so we don't actually need these files. But if you were going to, download a plugin or download a theme or create a post with some images or something like that, then you're going to need to update your files. And in most cases, the only thing you actually need to upload is this WP content folder. You don't actually need to upload all of this stuff. But we're going to go ahead. I'm going to let that run. Like I said, we don't actually need it for the tutorial, so it's just going to go in the background. And I'm going to move on to the database portion. Now we're going to go back into local. We're going to click on the database tab. We're going to open Adminer. And this is your local tool to mess with your database, just a web-based tool. What we're going to do is we're going to export our database. We want to save the database file. We want it to be in SQL format. We want to leave this stuff default. And then we're going to click the export button. Now we're going to save this in our downloads directory. That's where I saved it. And then the next step is going to be to connect to your database using a SQL client. I'm using SQL Pro. I recommend SQL Pro or Heidi SQL if you're using Windows. And before we actually connect, we have to make sure that our cPanel website allows remote SQL access. So we're going to log into cPanel. I'm already logged in here, as you can see. You can scroll down here to remote SQL, and in your manage access here, by default, my host has a wildcard here that allows anybody to log in. So if you have that, you're okay. You can go ahead and connect. If you don't have it, you could add the wildcard, or you could add your local IP address and only have your, your desktop IP would be the only one that allowed to connect to that, which is probably more secure. So you might want to change this later. But as you can see here, I have a wildcard. I'm allowed to connect. So the next thing I'm going to do is connect to the website in my SQL client. Now it's asking for username, password, and database. You can get all this information in your wp-config.php, which is we didn't upload. So you're going to get that from your production server, which is going to be in the FTP client. You could open this file and get that information. I have it open on another screen because I don't want to share with you guys my password, but I'm going to go ahead and fill out the database username. I'm going to copy the password out of the file, and my port's going to be default, and I'm going to connect. Now you can see I'm in production. These are all my tables. I'm going to go up to the top. I'm going to file. I'm going to open. I'm going to go and find that SQL export that we just had, which is local 1 because I already had one. So I'm going to go ahead and open that SQL export. Okay. Now, before we execute the SQL, we have to go through and do one thing. We have to go and find and replace the domain. So what you're going to have is you're going to have your domain .local. And what you want to do is you want to replace it with .com, your .com address or your .org or whatever you have on your live website. So I'm going to go ahead and find it to make sure that I'm going to go ahead and replace all. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and here I'm going to go try to find I'm going to go ahead and try to find the .com just to see if it's in there. Yeah, so it changed. See here, you can see site URL is .com and home is .com. So the next step is we just go over here, we hit run all queries. It's going to run the queries. It's going to update our database. It's going to change our theme to the 2019 theme in production. And that's it. So we just go back to our production website and we refresh the page. And you can see we're on our 2019 theme. Now we can go to our WP admin just to make sure we can log in. We can still log in. We can change the theme. Now one thing that will happen is if you don't do that find and replace right, when you go to WP admin, it'll redirect you to .local, and you don't want to do that. So you want to make sure you do that find and replace and verify that it's been replaced. And that is really all it takes to push from a development environment into a production WordPress environment. Like I said, we're not using the files that we transferred, but if you were transferring file system changes, you would want to wait for the file system changes to be copied over before you actually did your database update. That's the one caveat that I didn't catch earlier. So go ahead, do your file system update first, and then do your database update. So that's it for the tutorial. Hopefully you learned a thing or two about how to push from your development environment into production. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to leave a comment, ask us for some help. We'll try to get back to you. Thanks.